This is part one of a two-part series showing you how to work with samples inside of Cubase 10 Pro. So let's get it in. Okay, so we're going to work with samples inside of Cubase Pro. This is Cubase 10 Pro. And I'm going to break this up into two different videos. The first video is going to focus on the samples that come with the program, or basically samples that are timed that you can use that will actually automatically allow you to adjust the tempo and the pitch and things of that nature. Samples that are already ready for you to work with. In part two, we're going to talk about bringing in samples into the program that are not ready to be worked in the program, and we're going to work on setting them up so that they can be pitched, they can be toned, and all that good stuff. So let's get started with this part here. The first thing you need to know is we're working in samples inside of Cubase. You've got a variety of ways of actually pulling that data and working with that, with those samples. The first way would be to go over to the media section to the far right, and then click on loops and samples, and then this gives you a pack. Basically, all these are sample packs that come with the program, and Cubase is pretty generous. They give you a lot of good samples to work with. This is one way of actually accessing the samples. You can click on one is here, and I'm going to tell you this right now. One of the reasons why I don't like using this is because sometimes it is very tricky to be able to locate where these samples are. Like right now I'm clicking here and I'm clicking here, and there's nothing there at all, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, where are my samples? How come I'm not seeing my samples? Now of course you can play around with this and
think your partner is cheating on you? Learn how to catch a cheater. The new book on Amazon, Audible, and Apple Music.
Figure out how to bring get these samples to show up, but why do you want to do that? There's a better and a much easier way of doing things, and that would be to actually use the media bay. So how do we get to the media bay? We go up to media, go down to media bay. Also, you'll notice here that this is not the only way to get to these samples. You can also just hit F5, which is probably a much easier way, but if you rather, use the menus to actually get to the location where the media bay is, you can. But this is the media bay. Most of you are probably familiar with the media bay. Probably used it before in previous versions. I just upgraded from version 5, and probably most of you know why I was using version 5 for several years. But I finally took the dive. I've upgraded to version 10, and I'm finally becoming introduced to the wonderful world of the media bay, which I think is wonderful. The way Cubase works with samples is phenomenal. I would pick this program, as far as working with samples is concerned, over my next favorite program, which would be Reasons. But anyway, so as you can see, you've got a list of samples here. Now, as you noticed, I'm highlighting these samples. When you highlight these samples, the sounds are supposed to play. But when you initially start using Media Bay, you're going to probably have this situation. You're saying to yourself, okay, why are these samples not playing? This is one of the things about Cubase I'm not a big fan of, but they're not playing because it's not automatically set up for these samples to play. So what you have to do is you have to go up here, and we're going to go to audio connections. This used to be VTS connections. They changed it to audio connections. This is also something that I had to get used to with working inside of Cubase 10 as opposed to coming from Cubase 5. But anyway, you can also get to this by hitting F4, as you can see here. Well, we click on here, and the function that we're using is a function that comes through the control room. So we need to go to the control room. And as you can see from here, you don't have anything selected, or I don't have anything selected rather, for my outputs. I'm going to select output. Yeah, I know. I'm going to select the right output here. What this is telling me is I was already using these outputs for my outs. Now I'm switching them and I'm using them for the control room. So saying, well, now you're using them for this, you're not going to be using them for that anymore. The last thing you need to do is you need to make sure that the control room is on. And I just disabled it just to show you. Control room needs to be on or you won't see anything here. So let's go back and put these back together here. Okay, so we're going to click on the plus button here and make sure my left and right are set up. They are. Okay, so now I should be able to listen to samples. I know, right? It's a tedious process you have to do, but this is one of the bad things about Cubase, and I love Cubase, so it's got a lot of good features, but this is one of the bad ones. Okay, so now when I select a song here, a sample, whenever I select the sample now, we hear it. I must say too, I love these samples. This is your volume control right here. So if you wanted to turn up the level, you could. As far as anything else that's useful, the other thing I would tell you is that if you were looking for a specific, you could go through and you could play with the folders here and try to find, you know, different folders that has the type of sounds that you're looking for. But for me, I think the best way of actually searching it or browsing through these samples, if you're looking for something particular, is to go to the search window here and put something in there that you're searching for, and it brings up a list of stuff. So that's a quick way to browse through your samples and to find what you're looking for. The other thing I will show you is that if you were to double click on it, also this will play as well. And let's say you found the perfect sound and you wanted to use that sound in your song. Simple and plain. You just drag over here to the corner here, and that will create a window with that sound. I'm going to put this to the beginning because we're way ahead of ourselves here. Don't worry, we'll get there soon. Okay, so, and there is your sound. Push the play button to make sure that it is there. Of course, once again, I'm not where I'm supposed to be at, but you can see here, we move it there, and now push the button. And the thing about that's great is that this sample recognizes that my tempo right now is 120, so it actually goes into the song at the tempo that you have set already. Now we're going to mess with a couple of things here as I try to show you as many features as I can to make sure that you are able to do whatever you're trying to do. So let's just go with looking at this sample and let's double click on it. And when we double click on it here, you'll see that the editor opens up. And the editor gives you a lot of information about the sample. I mean, you know, it's 16 bits, you know, your sample rate, you know, the length of it is here as well. This is basically just information. You got a whole bunch of information that's here. The important thing is after you double click on this, go to sampler, and you can drag that sound into the sampler, and voila. Now this is where you get the cool features that you're going to probably want to use. Okay, so what do we have here? First of all, besides it telling you the file name, which of course is important information, you got the actual tempo of the original sample. That's what this serves as. When we first started, that tempo, actually the real tempo of it was 90. And then you got the key. You can change the key. You can go up in the key. This is the root key that you're playing with. Change the root key. Okay, that's all cool. This feature right here allows you to either put a loop on it so it's going to repeat continuously. You can do an alternative loop. You can have it go once. And you can have it go until you release the note. So you got a couple of cool features here. But this one right here, one shot, again, This, you hit this on here, push this button here, and it's going to go one shot. Um, this is the one here though, the fixed pitch. This is important for people who are trying to bring a sample and it has music, because if you push this button, the pitch doesn't change. It stays the same. This is not important with the drum. Not important with the drum at all. But this is something that's going to be important if you're working with musical sounds, like a bass guitar or a good, just regular guitar, and you're trying to put that inside of a song. That's going to be important because you may want to be able to hit certain keys and have it play certain pitches when you are trying to make sure it stays in tune. So let's take that off and show you what it sounds like when you don't have that running. So. So you see it put that back on, and no matter where you go, that stays the same. Okay, you could also reverse the sample, which could also be cool too, depending on what you're doing. You turn it into a mono sample as well, and then you could transfer to a new instrument. Okay, so that's the top panel. Very good panel, a lot of good stuff there. When you come down here, you've got your audio warp. You want to have that on, because if you don't have that on, you can't really mess with these particular features right here. And you got the sync. If you turn the sync on, then it's going to sync to the tempo of the track that you're working on. So now it's synced to the track that you're working on. I'll play around with this a little bit. Let me turn off the fixed pitch, and I don't know if you picked up what I just did there, but when I turn off that, but I have on the sync, now no matter what button I hit, the timing is going to still stay the same. So it's going to still stay within the 100, but it's going to change different pitches. So this is useful again if you've got a musical piece here and you want everything to stay in tune. That's very helpful. Or if you're trying to tune your drums to the song that you're playing. So all right, so we've talked about that a while. I love this, but let me go over the other features here. But I just love that you can do this. To me, this is like, I work with Reasons and working with samples. I used to like doing samples of Reasons, and even when I'm working with my MPC, and the process of pitching samples and keeping everything in tune is a tedious process. It's worse with Reasons because you've got to go to a separate program, edit that program, and make certain different samples. And then once you take those samples, you can dump them back into the program. It's just a tedious process, whereas this is easy. This is like the old days of working with real samplers, where you've got all this control, different things. And these are simple things, but it makes your life much easier when you're trying to create a track. So let me just finish going over some of these things here. As you can see here, you've got the original tempo or BPM. That's the original. And then, of course, if you're trying to do a little more here, you've got your glide. And I don't do too much with these, except for fine tuning is important if it's off. If the keys that you're playing here are just not quite in tune, you have the option to fine tune it. So this is an important button here as well. Other than that, I think we'll go over to this section here. You have to turn on your filters. Filters are going to come to you not enabled. You have to enable them. And then you've got these options here where you can play with classic or clip or bit red or just different shapes you can use as well too. You play around all this stuff to see what works for you in your track, and you got the actual cutoff where you can set up your cutoff part. Also too, we got the volume, which you saw me turn up the volume a few seconds ago, and just pan left to right. These are cool features. One other feature too that I have to mention that I think might be useful to you. If you're playing these sounds on a external keyboard and you want to use your pitch bend, you've got the options here where you can play with the pitch bend as well too. And that could create some cool stuff too, depending on what you're trying to do with this track. But I think as far as covering the first part of this video, that gives you a good idea, gives you a lot of stuff to run with. We're going to go into the second part of this video, second part, part 2, which is going to be a little more complicated, because in that video, we're going to take a sample that's not ready. It's not going to automatically work where you just dump it in here and the pitches, you're in the right tempo, the tempos will adjust correctly, or you play around with the tune, all that stuff. When you take a raw sample, you have to prepare it to work in this program, and we're going to show you that in the next video. As always, please subscribe to my channel, please like this video, and by all means, definitely without a doubt, continue to look for updates as far as different things we have going on here. My name is Rick Scott. Thank you for viewing this video. You see that like button? Click that button. You see that subscribe button? Click that button also. And oh my gosh, look at those comments down there. Please leave a comment, and thank you for watching.
Check out Swingopedia on Amazon, Audible, and Apple Music.